I'm Jeremy Harrell, founder and president of Veterans Club here in Kentucky, and we do a lot. We're a veteran service organization that does a lot for vets in our state, and I want to talk a little bit about what has led me on this path, a little bit about why I'm so passionate about serving other veterans, and it goes back to my military service during the initial invasion of Iraq, 2003 and 2004. Obviously, war is not a pretty thing. It's very complex. It's very traumatic. It's obviously violent in nature, and a lot of times I don't believe that we're built really to sustain our mentality through all that. Specifically, the length of time that you're deployed. I was deployed 15 months. That's nearly a year and a half. Being in country, being scared all the time, being concerned with, am I going to live? Is today the day where I don't live? Is there a roadside bomb out there waiting on me? Am I going to get shot today? Sort of that kind of thing. And to have to feel that and to have to be afraid of that every single day just really, really does something inside internally, specifically to your soul on a soul level. And it obviously had impact on me, which led me down a dark path coming home. The military teaches us to go to war, and how to do that trains us really, really well. Probably the best trained military in the world. But what they don't do, and what the missing piece is they don't tell you how to come home, and what you need to do when you get home, and how do you process these thoughts and these feelings and emotions, and the things that you witness, hear about, or are a part of. How do we do this? Essentially, you go through, you come back and you go through this demobilization pattern, and then you get thrown right back in to the world. And so that's why we have so many issues. Veterans have so many issues, because one day you could be in country doing a patrol, doing convoy security, working in enemy prisoner war camps such as I, and then a week later you could be back in the States and you feel like you're in a foreign country. You feel like you're a fish out of water, because you're like, okay, how do I do this? How do I adjust to my surroundings now? How come I can't relax? Like, I can't relax. I don't have anything to fear here, but for some reason I just can't relax. And so that leads you down a rabbit hole. And so you get these ruminating thoughts all the time about how am I supposed to go forward? How am I supposed to be a father, to be a husband, to be a producer back in this world? And you're not trained on that. And so what happens to a lot of folks, including myself, is you start doing things to numb those things. You start self-medicating. You start almost acting out in kind of reckless behavior in an effort to, number one, to get the kind of adrenaline that you were used to, but number two, because you just don't know, you just don't know how to react anymore. You don't know what is civilized and what isn't, because you just come from spending 15 months in a place that's very uncivilized, that is dangerous, that is nasty, and it's dark, and it's just a very, very negative location. And now you're back home, and everybody expects you to be. They're very proud of you, and you have the parades, and everybody tells you, hey, great job. We support you. We care about you. You did amazing. And then the next thing you know, the parades stop. And then nobody's calling anymore. Nobody's checking. Nobody's wondering like, hey, Jeremy, how you doing? Or any of that. And so you're feeling like you're all alone, right, in this world. This world that's your home, the world that you fought for, the country that you fought for, you seem to be a thing of the past. And then when you do have those relationships and you do try to step out of your comfort zone and build those relationships with people, you don't even know how. And the transparency is not there, because they can't fathom those experiences. I think the statistic was less than 7%, even of military folks, not to mention the rest of the United States, have ever experienced wartime. And so the odds are against you coming home. So I went down a rabbit hole for several years, eventually losing, being unable to keep a job, being unable to be a good dad, to be a good husband, and not knowing why. And then eventually I had a boss who approached me. He knew something was wrong. He was a former Marine. And he's like, Jeremy, I need to talk to you. There's something going on, and I'm concerned. And so I went to his office, and he says, listen, your employees are saying you're unapproachable, and your cognitive processing's off, and I think you really need help. And ultimately, I lost my job that day. And I thought, and so I'm like, okay, so you tell me I need help, and now you fire me, right? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And at the time it didn't, but I understood that he knew that if he did not do that, that I would not go and get the help that I needed, that I would just keep on working myself to death, trying to just use that as a way out of my reality. And so with that being said, I left there, went to the VA, got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and didn't even know what that looked like. They put me through a series of tests, felt like a guinea pig in a cage. They told me what I couldn't do anymore. They told me what I used to be able to do, what my new life was going to look like, and all these things. And I left feeling destroyed. I left feeling like a casualty of war, although I was alive. And I used to believe that the lucky ones are the ones who didn't make it, because the war does not stop for those who have been there, and you live it every day. And so here I am now, 29 years old, and I don't have a mission. And my whole adult life, the military was my mission, and I was very proud of that. I was very good at it. I was just natural at being a soldier, and that was what I loved. Like, I loved every minute of it. Even what we call, embracing the suck. Even during those times, I really felt like I was making a difference, and that I was really giving back for the freedoms that had been given to me by those who come before me. And so now here I was, sitting in my house, in my living room, just ruminating about what the VA said about me, about what I can't do anymore, about your soldier situation is over. And man, it was a punch in the face. And I still get emotional talking about it, and I'm sure there's other people out there like me who kind of feel that same thing. That was my identity. And although now I know what my identity is, and it has nothing to do with anything I do as a person, it has to do with my faith. But at that point, my identity was definitely in being a soldier. And I knew that I could fail at all these other things, but that's one thing I did not fail at. It's one thing that I knew I could do good, and so that one thing was stripped from me. And so now I felt like the world was closing in, and now I'm failing at all things. And you can imagine kind of where that went. That was 5 years of depression, hopelessness. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Why am I alive? I'm essentially, some of the words that I would say to myself, I was essentially saying I'm an oxygen thief. And I look back at that now and I go, that's just where my head was. Of course, obviously I don't think that now. And the whole reason we do what we do at Veterans Club, and the whole reason I wanted to start this, is because I don't want guys to think that. Because that's a lie, and it's not true. And there are so many other things that veterans who have had that same experience can do productive in this world. I used to make a joke like I was a soldier and now I'm changing diapers all day, right? It was sort of like my masculinity was stolen from me. And in reality, what I know now is that is an honorable thing. To be able to spend the time with your kids and your family that you don't get to when you're in service most of the time. I looked at that as dishonor, but it was really, I'm honored to say that I got so much extra time with my son because I didn't get that time with my daughter. And so, when this became a thought, it really pulled at my heartstrings, because I was like, listen, I fought this battle from 2004 until 2015, to where I really started to get on the other side of the issues that I was dealing with, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take these experiences and I'm going to use them in an effort to help other veterans from having to go down these rabbit holes. And I knew that if I could use those terrible experiences and all these hardships that I had experienced coming home and the difficulty with post-traumatic stress and these things, I knew that if I could turn that around and use that for good, it would help me heal internally. And that's exactly what happened. And so by me serving veterans, a lot of times they look at me in this role and it's growing and it's big and we're doing a lot of great things. And sometimes I'm afraid, and I want to make sure that that word is clear. I'm afraid that they look at me and they say, this guy's got it all together. But it's not true. In fact, I need them as much as they need me, if that makes sense. Serving them helps me, because a lot of times we can't take our own advice, but when I see the change, that some of the lessons I learned over time can help affect even Vietnam veterans. When you have a Vietnam veteran out at your ranch going through your equine program, and he looks at you and he says, Jeremy, I haven't felt this relaxed in 40 years. That's overwhelming. I immediately got emotional. I'm not even 40 years old. This guy's been suffering for 40 years in silence, essentially. And he spent 4 hours with our horses on the ranch and with brothers and sisters alike that understand the struggle, and he immediately felt that sense of relief. And that's just enough, because obviously I don't do this for money. I don't make money doing this. I do this out of love for my fellow veterans. And when I hear that, that's what keeps me going. When I see the success stories and I see people overcoming those same obstacles that I faced, and they start living life in the way that they desire, and they start having intentional lives, and they start really like changing the game for themselves, that's all I need. Money can't buy that. The things money can buy are temporary. They go away. But to see somebody continuously be a better dad, be a better husband, be a better person, better business owner, whatever it is, that's all I need. That's what makes me tick. That's what makes me get up early in the morning, even when I don't feel like it sometimes, because there's days I don't feel like it. Or when I answer so many emails, or I'm going from place to place to place and I'm overwhelmed myself, that's okay. That's okay. Because I'll do anything. And I hope that my actions so far and in the future will prove that I'm willing to do anything to help my fellow soldiers, airmen, Marines, seamen, Coast Guard, get on the right side of the tracks and let them lead a life that they can be proud of, and that motivates them, and that they can have joy restored in their lives again, and let them know that trauma doesn't own you. We're not monopolies to trauma. Trauma is the thing that we have, but we can separate the emotion of that trauma from the memory, to where it's just like any other memory, but we don't have to suffer for it. And I only know that because I did both. I suffered, and then I was able to, through my faith and through horses, believe it or not, I was able to disconnect that emotion, for the most part, to those memories. And I want to do the same in any capacity I can for any veteran out there that needs that. So listen, if any of you out there who have served this great country, and you signed that dotted line and promised to give up to and including your life for what we stand for here in America, and you are suffering or you are struggling and you don't know from day to day how you're going to make it to the next one, or you feel like you don't have anybody to rely on and you're all alone and you're isolating, you're avoiding all these things that are going through your mind, I beg you as a brother to reach out. My phone is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm dedicated to working with you. Reach out to me, no judgment. It's all love. Veterans Club is all love. That's what it is. Reach out, and I want to walk with you through these problems. I want to fight with you. I want to be in the fight. I want to be in the battle with you. Two is better than one. Because if you only have one, nobody's there to help you up. Let me be that other guy to come and help you through whatever it is you're going through. I want to do that. We don't just want to send you out to a program and say, hey, thanks for coming. I hope you got something out of this. We want to do life with you guys. And when I say do life, I want to know you forever. I want to know how your family is. We want to know how your spouse is. We want to know what's going on with you. Like, we will follow up. We will do anything. resource-wise, no matter how many times you have to come through our programs, no matter how many conversations we have to have, please feel comfortable doing that, because that's what I am dedicated my life to at this point. And our whole organization and everybody who's on the team has dedicated their lives in an effort to help you. Let us do that.